We are ready to go. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you for asking me, for one. My name's Danny, I'm an addict. Welcome if you're new. Hello to people I've seen before. Step two. Yeah, step two for me is, without step two, none of the other steps work, right? Coming to believe in a power greater than me. So, before I come to NA, obviously I believed in a power greater than me. That was me. So I thought I knew it. But that's why I ended up in Narcotics Anonymous. On the back of nearly taking my own life twice. That was a power greater than me, because I've got a disease that wants to kill me. Bottom line is that, I've got a disease that, without being arrested, without doing work on myself, it can get me in some very bad situations, and some of them have been arrested, institutions, and like I mentioned at the beginning, death. That's the reality of this illness. My next use-up could kill me. I'm coming up to a clean time birthday, so I'm a few years in, and I like the Just for Today reading because it's really relevant from where I'm at. Sometimes when you get suggestions when you come into the rooms, and it's good to listen to suggestions, believe me, because all I listened to was me, and what I suggested to myself weren't good, because it always ended bad. So listening to others and coming to believe in a power greater than myself was in the rooms. That's where I got clean. Walking into my first NA meeting, listening to similarities rather than the differences of what people were sharing, was a power greater than me. That was my first glimpse of hope. Before step two, there is a step one. That powerless over my addiction, and my life become unmanageable. That's really important, because all the steps connect with each other, so without understanding, because the steps are important, and that's what today's, it says recovery doesn't happen overnight. The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous are a progressive recovery process established in our daily living. In the beginning I just wanted to stay clean. What I really did want is a change of personality, and I knew that don't happen overnight, because I could get glimpses of clean time. I could stop. I could get obsessions of obsessively go to the gym and work out for 4 or 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it weren't enough. Nothing becomes enough. So I'm an addict, right? So one is too many, but one. It's like one exercise class, and the next minute I'm on 5 exercise classes in one day. And I can still do that today, which I do. Because we could, but my main concern here was stop using. And, coming in and listening to, the readings went straight through my head. The cuddling at the beginning of the meeting, I was quite taken aback by that, because I thought, who are you trying to cuddle? What the hell is this? What am I walking into here? You don't know what you're walking into in your first meeting. So that for me was an experience on its own. But it's the biggest step we make in recovery, and it's the biggest change in recovery. Because if we stick around long enough, as you hear in the rooms, keep coming back, stick and stay, all them slogans we get in the rooms, gives us hope, and that's why we keep coming back, listening to similarities, because I was unique. I come in the rooms with no one done what I've done, and then you stay in the rooms long enough and listen to what other people have done. It's like, I'm not that bad after all. I'm really not that bad, but we learn all this stuff by keep coming back. So that step two is not all. It's about coming to believe. It's not about believing in a power greater than themselves. So like I say, power greater than me is more than one person, and that's me. So you guys are greater than me. You know, I've done enough recovery now to know that I've got a God of my understanding in my life, because what I've realised is I'm only sitting in the rooms for an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe do a bit of fellowship. That's 3 hours, 3.5 hours of the day. There's 24 hours in a day. They say the cleanest person in the day is the one who wakes up first. You know what I mean? But then you've still got to do things in that day to stay clean. You know, it just ain't about waking up, getting on with your day. We have to work recovery into our daily lives, and that's what I've learned, is by getting a balance. And what I mean by balance, it's not a straight line in recovery. In my experience anyway, I don't know about anyone else. If someone says they've got a perfect recovery, show me. But in my recovery, it isn't up and downhill, because we have challenges in life, right? Whether you're clean or not, life turns up, you know, deaths. And, you know, my first encounter with a power greater than me on a spiritual realm, you know, I used to pray to God when I wanted to get out of trouble, i.e. when I was getting nicked, please let me get away with this. Or if I was to cause harm to people, please let me off that. You know, I was praying to God for the wrong reasons, basically. You know, but God's always aware, and then but all the other times I wanted God to turn. God's watching us all the time, in my eyes. Yeah, that for me, not for anyone else. Everyone's got their own God of their understanding, but for me, God's always there. But when I used to use, I didn't want him to be there. I used to forget about God then. He was like, no, go away. I'm doing something now. Right, you know. But, you know, we can't get away from the fact that we have. Today, I try and live by spiritual principles. Do I live by all the spiritual principles? It's pretty hard to do that, I think. But I try and do my best on a daily basis. My head still does a number on me, so what goes on in my head, thinking-wise, can be quite insane. If I was to, that's why I brought my book. I don't normally bring my book, but I have one today. So I think step 2 is quite important. You know, it is a very important step. It says in here, "May I please have an heart attack or a fatal accident." Walking up to someone in the street and saying that to someone, that's insanity, right? That's a step 1 stuff. You've got to be insane. But sometimes I wanted to die. Well, I didn't want to die, I wanted to die. You know, I didn't really get to that point of dying, but I really was that insane. Now, I thought that on many occasions. And it says here, insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. That's so true, that is. You know, I think I've tried every angle to try and swerve it, and I always ended up in the same fucking place. And always ended up asking that same question. Why is this happening? And the good thing about step 2 is, and working all the steps, you know, is that I see that pattern today. So I don't have to, like, I may be insane in other ways, you know, like I say, like, you know, when I go to the gym, 1 class isn't enough. So on a weekly basis, I at least do 15 classes now, you know what I mean? And that's just not one. It's like the drugs weren't one type of class, I'll do all the classes. Because I like to go through it all, I like to experiment. But it's in a healthy way. If it makes me feel better, so you say self-care. But there's other areas that I've slipped, and like yesterday I went to the hospital, and you know, because I suffer from my eyes. And you know, we have these glands that are in our eyes that produce moisture that protects our eyes, and my glands have shut off, and they've shut off for like the last 6 years. That's why I used to come to meetings sometimes and my eyes couldn't hardly open and stuff. And they've said to me, if you don't start treating this properly, I've got steroids, antibiotics, loads of creams. I have to bathe my eyes when I wake up, bathe them when I go to sleep, bathe them through the day. And I've got all these different bits and pieces that they give me, and they said, and I was honest with them, right, because it's an honest program, and I said, look, you give me that 6 weeks ago, and I ain't really used none of it. And so they turned around and said, if you don't, because it's like meeting people halfway, it's like recovery, it's just like life, right? If you don't put your action in it, and they give you half of the solution to it, it's a bit like recovery, right? If they give you half of the solution, like a sponsor gives you a suggestion, you can either take it or you don't take it. But 9 times out of 10, like I said in the beginning, my own advice got me into a lot of bother, you know. And yesterday, the reality was, they said, if you don't do this in a couple of years' time, you may not be able to see again if you don't start taking responsibility for this on a daily basis. Thank you. So, you know, that was a wake-up call. That was me. That was them saying basically, like, you know, you could lose your sight, and I'm quite conscious about my sight. I'd rather see than not see, you know, and you know, so that's something that I've had to take on board. But I've got all the stuff indoors, and I still ain't doing it. That's the insanity still. So that's the other reason why I've got step 2 out today, to remind me of, like, you know, I've got to start doing it. Because, you know, in 2 years' time, if it starts affecting my eyeballs, because at the moment it's affecting around the eyeballs, but if it starts affecting my eyes, I'll ask that same question: why has this happened? And it's like what I've said there, you know, that full circle. Trying to do things in different areas, but if I don't do what's suggested, I'm going to end up in the same place. So step 2 today is quite irrelevant for me, and I think it's like they say, it's that step that without applying it, recovery is not possible. You know, and as time goes on with step 2, you know, there is a step 3 and a step 4 and a step 5. But you know, in the beginning, when I got step 1, that was it. It does say, and that's why I've mentioned our reading today. I thought I was recovered. After doing my step 1, I thought, fucking, that's it. You know, I've got this. And they call it a pink cloud. And don't get me wrong, I'll still get on in pink clouds occasionally. And that's a good thing. I used to like take the mickey out of people, go, you're still on your pink cloud? But to be honest, that's in a good place. When you're on that pink cloud, you're buzzing on recovery. So I respect people that... I love watching newcomers. For an example, a newcomer comes in the door, never had recovery before, starts coming to meetings, you start seeing the colour come back on their face. And then you think, and then like starts connecting with people. After a few months, takes on a service commitment. That gives me tingles, madly enough. I get high on that today, thinking, well, there's someone who's applying this program, and it gives me such a buzz to see someone else. And that's exactly how I was when I come in. You can only keep what we have by giving it away. This step also says that we apply this program before working steps. You know, that's why they say a person 2 days clean can help someone 1 day clean. You know, and it's all about surrendering. It's all about not our will, and handing it over to a power greater than ourselves. For me, that's God. And you guys in the rooms. I could carry on, but I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Danny, for your share tonight. The meeting is now open for general sharing. I will stop.